Hello and welcome back to the pod. Welcome back to the cast, where each week we talk everything to do with Web3, technology, and AI, and how you can use this technology in your business today. If you're a business owner, CTO, CIO, account executive, anyone who's looking to make process improvements in their business, this is the podcast for you. I'm here with my co-host and business partner, Aleck. And this week, we're going to talk a little bit more on the procurement side of things. I know we started talking about it a little bit in theory last week, but we found a couple companies that are actually using AI right now to augment the procurement process and remove friction in that buying process right now. So that's what we're going to be talking about this week.
Yeah, so I think before we go into the procurement stuff, just to kind of set the lay of the land a little bit, when we're talking, we're going to use a lot of different terms in this next section. So we're going to talk about the blockchain. So when we're talking about the blockchain, think of it in terms of the data storage. It's your database. Everything's printed and posted on the blockchain for all to see. Then the other piece of it is the smart contract. So think of a smart contract kind of like a normal contract where it's actually handling execution for you. It's I give you A, I get B. So that's basically what that piece of it's going to be. And then the last element of it is pretty well anything can be assigned a value and engaged with through the blockchain and smart contracts, and it all becomes programmable. So I think with those three pieces all coming together, that should lay a good groundwork for what we're going to get into on the procurement side.
Yeah, and so where we really see the procurement piece progressing in the Web3 part is the smart contract section. So smart contracts is the software that actually lives on the blockchain and does all the executions. And while we alluded to it last week, and we will keep on alluding to it because this is the way that's going, having a clear set of rules between two trusted parties where you can execute a transaction immediately because you're both trusted parties in this. So if I buy gas, I automatically pay you because before I start even giving you gas, you can see via the blockchain that I have enough money to pay for that gas. So it removes the friction of the third party intermediaries being like Visa, your bank, anything like that, because everything's on the ledger, the open source ledger of the blockchain itself. So in the future, you will see businesses on private blockchains where they share data between each other. So if you're a business and I'm going to order 5 skids of your product, the smart contract can see that you have the money earmarked for this, or you have the money set aside for this. You know what payment terms that we have already pre-negotiated for this, and it'll execute the purchase order and the remittance all automatically, all on the blockchain, without having to go through accounts receivable departments, without having to go through sending in all these details that causes friction and adds costs to your buying process. It'll remove all that, and it'll remove all the fees associated with banking, buying, like Visa or Amex isn't going to take their 3 or 5% or whatever it's going to be. All you'll have to pay is the transaction fees associated with it, with whatever blockchain that those companies will use between each other.
I think one of the things I find the most interesting and the biggest low-hanging fruit use case for it is when it comes to the pre-qualification or qualification of a supplier. Think about, especially for anyone who's listening from a larger corporation where you use an Avetta or one of these third-party services to vet all your suppliers. How do you make sure that, say one of your requirements is like an ISO 127001 or whatever, whatever the thing is. How do you actually verify that your supplier has that? It's you have a vet go through and check everything, or you might be able to go to the ISO, look it up in their database. What if you could have it as part of the actual contract? Before anyone gets paid, you have to have that certification. Another example of that is safety certification. So most, especially when you're dealing in, most major companies are going to be under some kind of safety regulation, whether it's in the US, could be an OSHA related type thing. In Canada, there's electrical safety and all that type of stuff. And it varies across all industry. But again, you have to maintain certification with those those groups. So say you could put all that on the blockchain, then you have instant verification. Like there's no, well, it's like we kind of did it, but we're like almost done, and like all the typical games like suppliers play. You don't have, that's all gone. It's like either you have it or you don't, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts. So I think that in terms of procurement and saving money in procurement, I think that's one of the absolute best ways to do it, because it takes away the responsibility or the requirement to have either a third party do it, which is huge money, expensive, or have your guys do it, which is, well, still expensive, but also a waste of time.
Exactly. And that all plays to removing that friction, removing those costs. And today, the blockchain doesn't have the trust in order to do that. I'm sure it can get programmed and everything, but there's not enough buy-in for that. So like what we've seen and what we've found right now is companies are just leveraging AI instead to do this. So you're leveraging, like a lot of them are leveraging ChatGPT's model in order to help that procurement process in the front end and throughout the entire process as well, so nothing gets missed. So there's a few different softwares that we found out there. We're going to talk about two today that are really connected to this, that is using ChatGPT for their procurement, Procure GPT, or in Procurement GPT products. Forgive me, I don't remember exactly which one is using what, but those are their two names for them. And they're both clearly use ChatGPT. So the first one I want to talk about is Token and their procurement solution. They also have legal solutions as well. But what I want to focus on right now is that front end piece that you were talking about earlier. Like, oh, do you have ISO certification, things like that. So very neat. And they do have all of their demos on their website. So we'll link that in the bio for everyone who's looking to see this. But you will ask, an employee will ask their procurement software for a item that they're looking to purchase. So we're going to use the example of a project management software. So before it actually goes through the entire process, you've already fed this Token solution all the softwares that your business already has. So before the procurement process goes any further, it'll search the database to see if there's any licenses that are that your business already has available. So or a manager knows if you actually do need this software, or you can already leverage the assets you have right now without going to market or anything like that. Another thing, and the next step in this software, it'll go out and find comparables of this to see. Like, so let's say you're looking for a Salesforce. And you put in a request to add Salesforce CRM. It'll go out and look like, hey, you can get Microsoft Dynamics as well. Did you want to look at that? Here's a summary of what this actually does. And then you can go through the list, fill out a form based on based on the criteria that you set out as a manager. Like, I want to get 3 quotes. What are average pricing for these projects? What parameters should I be looking for? What features does this have versus the other one? And because it's using ChatGPT, and ChatGPT scrubs the internet of all the data that these companies put online, it can give you summaries and synopsises. So it saves your procurement team a lot of time from going out and calling salespeople over and over and over again. It can narrow it down to your 1, 2, 3 vendors that you want to look at right away.
Yeah, that's huge. And like save, because that's again, super lengthy process. And it's kind of like, it's the equivalent now of, like when if say you're going to buy a computer or a printer or like anything, any product, right? Any bigger purchase, you have access to pretty much unlimited information. You can do all your research ahead of time. Why not bring this into your procurement process? So, and the added benefit of ChatGPT just accelerating all that for you, collecting all the data, getting it all organized so you can quickly do your comparisons, narrow down exactly what you want to look at, and then go to market. So just saves you an immense amount of time, makes things easier, and easy way today to leverage that type of technology.
Now, this is just the beginning portion of the procurement software's capabilities. Like, this platform plugs into all the existing technology that you already have, like a DocuSign, for example. Let's say you have a license of that. It'll plug into the workflow of this, and this will take you all the way through the procurement process of this software. Really, you save most of your time at the front end of this in the procurement process, and it will help you build out an RFP or RFQ so you can send it to the vendors so you make sure you're getting a similar quote. Now, one thing to keep in mind on the flip side of this is you want to, if you as a business owner or software supplier or anything know that this technology exists right now and is scrubbing your website, you want to make sure the copy on your website gives the full amount of detail without giving pricing, of course. But you need to make sure that the capabilities of your product is fully up to date and the benefits of your product is fully up to date, because this is just one that we found, and there are many more. And there are many more rogue employees that are just using ChatGPT to scrub the internet right now for it. Yeah. So, exactly. Yeah, if your data's not out there, it needs to be.
It's worth putting it out there now. And honestly, when you look at, like, we're in the information economy anyway, so pretty much anything that you're going to put out there, or anything you consider trade secret, either somebody else has it as a competitive advantage, or it's already known in the market. So I mean, let's just get it out there, get in front of the customers, and get right to the point.
Yeah. Well, Aleck, I believe you found another software, DSilo, that it's part of the spend process, but it's a little bit different than a platform. Did you want to describe it a little bit?
Yeah, I think this one kind of comes in a little bit later on, I guess, in the workflow, the procurement workflow. I think this one handles a little bit more in terms of, I guess you call it like kind of on your legal side, and like some of the specifics around, I guess when we're going back to that smart contract piece that we opened with, this I think covers a little bit more of that, where using AI to review things like pricing terms, general legal terms, could be something to do with disclosure. It could be specific terms of, a scope of work or something like that. So this is giving you a little bit more intelligence on the contract side. And it's also covering like spend intelligence. So it's like, how do you, I guess simply, how do you catch things like incorrect pricing? How do you catch things like missed opportunities for rebates or anything back from your OEMs and your manufacturers? Or maybe there's a glaring non-compliance in one of your contracts. So it's just stuff like that that's kind of down the road indirect costs. I guess it turns into a direct cost if you don't catch it. So it's another one of those pieces that's kind of taken one of the big advantages of AI, where it's able to see things, or it's able to catch things at a speed and level of detail that a lot of humans just can't really do, especially when you're dealing with a lot of complexity. I mean, drop a 300-page contract in front of somebody, like something's going to get missed.
Well, exactly. When I was reading about this product's offerings, like I was thinking about this, like this is a procurement manager and a contracts manager and a legal team sort of all built in one. Like those meetings, like if you break down the hourly cost of those meetings, it is outrageous on how much time and money and hours are spent on this part of the contract process. And now you have a piece of software, like however much it is, doing all that work for you without missing anything. And it's just distilling the data right there. So only a project manager or procurement manager has to review it. The legal team doesn't have to get involved in that anymore. You know how much that costs, and that's just removing friction from your internal budgeting process. Like all AI is trying to do, and this software is a great example, is to enhance the user experience and make things easier. Like I know a lot of people are afraid of AI right now, where the news makes it sound like it's afraid and it's going to take everyone's jobs. Well, yes, it's going to displace some people and take away some jobs. People are just going to find a job in another place. And same sort of idea like on this software. Just because your legal team isn't going to spend 5 hours a week reviewing this type of contract work, you will find other work for them to do because they are already overworked.
Yeah, because it almost turns into, instead of them doing, kind of, it's almost remedial in a lot of ways, just picking out little, imperfections or errors or things like that. You have them more of in a value add type role, where it's like, how do we get more efficient in how we structure these contracts? Or dealing with your operations people is like, where in the operational or the execution of the project or delivery or whatever we're doing, where is our real risk, and like where are we getting hung up, and where can we fortify that back in the con. So you actually are freeing up people to use their skill set rather than just do a menial task. Like, it's a huge value addition.
So now let's say you are a CTO right now, and you're looking at implementing some new technology. What piece do you think is more important right now to be looking at? Like, where are you looking, and what are some criteria you think you'd be looking at? Like, these are two great products and two great examples of products, and you should get both if you can afford to get both. But what sort of criteria do you think you'd be looking at to get to, like, the first one that we were talking about versus the second one? Like,
well, I guess generally I would say finding ways to use AI today is the number one, because I think you'll find it's just that whole point we've been touching about, freeing people up to, or better utilizing your people. And AI is at a point where you can train it pretty easily relatively easily to do that for you now. So I'd say that's kind of the number one piece. And then the number two, which I think to think more about, is using blockchain initially as a data, like as a data storage system, basically. Because if you're able to grasp that early on, that's like if you're able to manage that piece right away, as those tools become more readily available and more widely implemented, like, it'll be an easier process for you to set that up. So really, I'd say the two things is get AI in use in your business today, and get your data blockchain ready, or like into a blockchain.
no, I really like that, and like especially that second piece, like get your data blockchain ready now. So figure out what your compliance is going to be. Look at some storage solutions now that are utilizing the blockchain, and yeah, get everything ready, because once it comes, and it'll come quick. Like, think about what we were talking about AI related a year ago. Nothing, like little whispers. Like, ChatGPT was out there and everything, but it's not like on Fox News. They're not talking about it on the nightly news. Like, we're looking at stuff like that, but the average person is not looking at anything like that. So it does come really quick. And to touch on between these two softwares, I'd just really be looking about your total team and like where your team is right now, like your head counts, what are the timelines that you'd be looking at as far as turnarounds. Like, I know with any business, the procurement process is slow, but you know what's causing a holdup, or you should know, have an idea on what is taking so long. And in most cases, is getting 3 quotes, 3 pricing, going through all the terms. Like, that piece to me is the longest time. Like, and making sure you can go through all the security, the compliance, like you were talking about before, like going through all the health and safety, the ISO, like all those things, doing all that verification. If you can get that up front with like a token, I think that's the quickest turnaround. De-silo, like, is great, is much better, I think, for a larger corporation that is concerned with multi-million-dollar budgets, and like how, like, you're tasked by a CEO, like you're tasked to cut your budget by 10%. Like, oh, cost of borrowing is up whatever 4% or 6% this year over last year. Well, that money's got to come from somewhere. You can't raise the prices, so you got to save the 6% out of your business expenses. Well, then de-silo is going to help you cut that one down.
And like, remember too, with this, like, we're not doing like this is, you don't have to sit there thinking, oh my god, it's a major like I got to redo all my data, everything's got to be, no, this is like we're layering a lightweight system into what you've already got, and we're just it's all being plugged in. Like, we're not, even when we're talking about get data blockchain ready. We're not saying, oh, you gotta go restructure all your databases. No. This is taking little bits and pieces and it's the low hanging fruit, getting that ready, lined up and in place. So when technology like this, when you're ready to use something like this, it's all set and ready to go. Easy implementation.
Yeah, and not only when you're ready for this, is when the technology is ready for this as well.
Right. Yeah.
When you start picking little platforms like these two as examples, you are training your team to start using AI.
Yeah.
Like you're training them from companies that do this and actually and do the training for it. So they're ready to go for whatever the next step is. So when the email augmentation, like I know, I'm sure we'll do an episode on that as well, like replies and all those come out there, you'll know, or your employees will know what kind of prompts they should be looking for when they are putting that information in. So anything else this week that you want to touch on the procurement side that you've seen in the market or anything?
I think those two. I think that's a good place to start because you're starting to see more products come out now. But I think what we've covered today is probably a good start because it gives you kind of the two biggest hangups in that process. I think these are some good examples of technology that can help you, and they're pretty, in terms of matureness in the market. I think this is a good place to start. So yeah, nothing else to add.
I want to touch on one more piece that we were talking about a little bit at the beginning, and that's just what you can hope to see in the future with smart contracts.
Oh, yeah.
Like you were saying, once you get in your data blockchain ready and more things blockchain ready, let's say one day, like I know they've been talking about it for years, like accounting, instead of double entry accounting, maybe triple entry accounting. So you do another entry on the blockchain so every business can be more trusted, like how open or closed that is. Once you start getting your data ready, like on the back end, once the smart contracts are ready to start making that execution, you can do those frictionless transactions that we were talking about before between suppliers and customers. So if you're ordering pallets of sugar, you know that the person buying it has the money to buy it and can execute that transaction right away without intermediaries in between. Taking time, verifying information, and taking a little cut. Thus creating a more efficient market and things. So very, very exciting technology that's coming, but the AI piece that's available right now is the first step in that direction.
That's right. Yep.
Well, join us again next week where we discuss everything to do with Web3, AI, and where the market is going and how you as a business owner can implement this today.